Good morning, friends. We're just starting our day over here, and so I have all this bread sitting on the counter. Part of a loaf of sourdough bread, part of a loaf of sandwich bread, and then I've got 3 sourdough English muffins sitting here. So the kids are gonna have toast for breakfast. If they want to have yogurt or eggs or fruit or whatever, they kind of pick and choose what they want with it, but definitely we're doing toast. I've got a lot going on right now. Well, first off, I have Wesley over here trying to wash some dishes. But I have lots of sourdough, or I did have lots of sourdough in here. And so I put some into this bowl. I am making a loaf of sourdough bread today. And then in here, I put 3 cups of sourdough. Filled that up with some flour and water because I'm going to be doing sourdough waffles for supper tonight. So I need to get this mixed, get my hands right in there and mix that one, and then I will feed my starter again. I'm just starting my smoothie here for breakfast now. So into my Vitamix. This is what I have for breakfast, probably 4 to 5 times a week, maybe more. It's most days. So I just pour some almond milk at the bottom here. I have some cottage cheese, some frozen strawberries, 1 scoop of my Whey vanilla protein powder, and then I put a scoop of collagen in there too, and I just blend. Sometimes I'll do like mixed berries, different fruits, but strawberries makes it just the best. That's my favorite. I always go straight from having my smoothie to drinking my morning coffee. So I do have a bit planned for food-wise today. And typically, for instance, for lunch, I am going to make a quiche for lunch, which is like way more work than I ever do at lunchtime. I like to make pretty easy, quick meals for our family, you know, just in the middle of our homeschool days. But I was supposed to make quiche earlier on the weekend. I had it on the meal plan. And then things changed, I had to switch it up. But I've had this pie crust sitting in our fridge now. Oops, things are falling out of the fridge. I've had that sitting in the fridge for a couple days, so I pulled this out of the freezer. I always make a big batch of pie crust and I just stick some extra balls of dough into the freezer, enough to make 2 pie crusts for each ball of dough. So let me just stick that back in the fridge, as well as this broccoli that was kind of propped up there. So I still just want to use up that pie crust. I need to use up some spinach that I bought. I really wanted to make waffles tonight, so I didn't want to switch that up. Anyway, I just decided, okay, I'm gonna make quiche for lunch. I actually don't think it'll be too much work. Like, I just have to roll out the pie crust and whisk together a bunch of like scrambled egg ingredients. So it's not like it's a ton of work. Stop it, you silly. Just a little bit more work than I would typically do at lunchtime. But I'm just kind of thinking through, like, I think that has to bake. I found a recipe that says the pie has to bake, or the quiche has to bake for 45 minutes. Are you getting a vitamin? Can you reach? And then it should cool for a while before we slice into it. So I'm thinking like 10 o'clock I should start putting together this recipe. But for now, I'm gonna sit down for a bit and drink my coffee in between teaching school and doing stretch and folds for that bread I started. I am mostly doing voiceover here because the kids are doing school behind me and I don't want to be too distracting or have you hear a lot of background noise. But I am going to roll out my pie dough here. So it's pretty cold. I just took it straight out of the fridge, and I just need to flour all of my surfaces. And then when I'm rolling, I just start at the middle and roll towards the outside. And then I turn it from the middle up, from the middle down. Then I turn it back, middle out, middle down, like that. And I just keep kind of doing that same thing, flouring more when needed until my pie crust looks like it's big enough to fill one of these pie dishes. The trick is your dough staying a circle as you roll out. And I am no expert, but I've learned a few tricks during my pie baking. First pie crust is ready, so I just fold it over like that and stick it into the middle of my dish and then unroll the rest. For this one, I am going to use a knife to cut off the extra dough, and I will just use that extra dough on my second pie crust, but then on the second one I won't cut it off. I'll just kind of roll it in because not gonna be wasting any pie crust over here. Okay, that one's ready. Now I can get started on pie crust number 2. To these eggs now, I'm going to add milk. I'm actually gonna do a, let's see, half milk, and I'm gonna do half whipping cream. I am doing a double recipe today. This recipe just calls to make, for the ingredients to make 1 pie, but why make 1 when I can just make 2 and it hardly takes any more time. So, I'm gonna pour that in there, as well as salt and pepper, and then I'll whisk that up. The kids are grabbing fruit all around me. Usually if they want a snack in the morning, I say that's fine, just have an apple or a banana. What is it? A little bad spot on your apple? Okay, well just don't bite that part or cut it off or something. Camels live in the desert, right?
Do camels live where I stepped on a cactus?
They don't actually live there. They do live in the desert like that, but not in the United States.
Okay.
It's not as big as Canada. But less people live in Canada.
Well,
That's what Dad told me.
yeah, Canada is bigger in land mass, but more people live in the United States.
I knew that.
How did you know that?
Because Dad told me.
Oh my.
And they already told me
That looks good.
It does, doesn't it? So I put all of my extra toppings there on first. You can see I have 2 kind of different looking pies here. This one I did like the fluted edge. That was the second pie I did. And this is the first one where I cut off the extra. And so now I'm just gonna pour my egg mixture on top. Trying to do about half in each one. I feel like I could have done even more eggs than I did actually. I might actually add a couple more eggs. Okay, does this not look amazing? Those came out so good. I stuck this cookie sheet in the oven underneath just in case we had overflow, but no spilling was had. We have a lot of raw veggies in the fridge too, so I just made up a plate of some raw veggies. We had a little bit of this veggie dip in the fridge. I need to just make bigger batches and like constantly serve this because this dip is so good. I mean, it's great with chips too, but we love it with vegetables. And I just sliced up the first pie here, and so now you're gonna find out with me how well this comes out, and we're just gonna plate it up for everybody.
That looks really good.
Okay, look at that. It does look good, doesn't it? what a delicious lunch. Dare I say, you guys are spoiled. Just getting myself another coffee here. This is usually what I have. I usually have 2 coffees a day. As I mentioned earlier, I'm doing sourdough waffles for supper tonight, which we love. We love having breakfast for dinner. It's pretty simple and it goes over so well. Like with young kids, breakfast for dinner goes over just about better than anything else. I did, so first off, the way we've been doing pancakes or waffles lately, for one, I always like to have whipped cream on hand. And what we've been doing lately is making a berry syrup, so then we don't have to have any other syrup. We just use berries. I add like sugar and water and cornstarch and lemon juice and make a really nice syrup, which is delicious on our waffles. And it's sitting here in this pot. There it is. Typically, I will make the syrup as I make supper, but I always regret it and wish that I had made it earlier. For one, it's just a lot of work. Like making waffles is kind of like I'm just constantly busy, like putting more on, taking them off, putting more on. So if I'm making syrup at the same time, it's just a little bit too chaotic for me. 2, if you let it sit for a bit after cooking, it thickens nicely, it cools down a little bit. It's nice to not put like boiling hot syrup on because then your whipped cream just instantly melts. And anyway, I was glad I got that done early. It's just mid-afternoon now. The kids are having some yogurt and I'm sure they'll have something else little for snack. When I try to eat a lot of protein in my diet at my meals, I find that I don't really need to snack. It's 3:45 right now and I'm not really feeling hungry at all yet. In the next, probably about 4:30, I'll start to feel hungry, but then we eat at 5:30 or so I think I'll just try to power through. No snack this afternoon. Anyway, I'll come in and check back with you guys when I start making these waffles. I feel funny calling it dinner, but it is our dinner tonight. Do you guys like breakfast for dinner? Time to start this waffle mixture now. This sourdough has been, gotta wash this once again because my sourdough rises so much that it gets on my little top there. But this has been sitting here rising all day. Sometimes I mix it, I'm thinking like today, and it's just a little bit too thin. I think I'll add a little bit of flour to that just to thicken it up a little bit. But the recipe I'm doing today is going to be a triple recipe. Yes, I am making a lot, and yes, I will freeze a lot of it when we're done, and waffles are the perfect thing to freeze. Pancakes are pretty good, but they're just not quite as easy to like pull apart. Waffles just work great. Now a little hack I figured out. I'm gonna put this onto my element. I have a stainless steel measuring cup, so I'm putting it directly onto my element to melt the coconut oil. There it is, turn my element on, and that's just gonna melt. Now you might be thinking, it looked like it was already melted. You poured it right in. And that is true. It did look like it's, it's pretty liquidy there. But if I dump it in when it's just like fairly liquidy, it immediately like hardens in here and becomes chunky. I want it to be warm. So I'll warm that up. I'm going to add 6 eggs. Look how active. You can always tell how active and bubbly your starter is when you put the eggs in and they just immediately go under the surface and just disappear. Whoops. Isn't that funny? Just disappears. I do still have to pull up my recipe here to see what else to add. So I'm gonna add the coconut oil, and then I add salt, cinnamon, honey, vanilla, and baking soda. I wanted to clarify, this is gonna be a full bowl, on the topic of snacks. The kids, like I said, did grab a snack. So typically in the afternoon, they'll have like yogurt or some more fruit or some nuts. They absolutely have some freedom to pick their snacks, but there are snacks for them to pick from. And you may think I am too strict on that. I don't care. They have some freedom. They can be picking crackers or pretzels or granola and yogurt. Like, there are a good bunch of snacks for them to pick from, but it's not like a free-for-all. I am very aware of like how much they are snacking on. I think it's our responsibility as parents to try to make sure our kids are healthy. And so if they are snacking on junk in the afternoon and won't eat their dinner, I mean, this dinner, okay, it's not like the most healthy thing ever. It's not like a whole bunch of veggies, but still, it's important that they are eating their meals and not filling up on snacks. So I am like, you know, aware, like, okay, I think you've had enough of a snack now. Also, I try for about, I'm not like watching the clock, okay? I'm not like crazy strict. But in general, about an hour and a half before dinner, I'm like, okay, you're done snacking. If you're a little bit hungry, that's fine. Save your appetite because dinner is around the corner. Let's see, that looks pretty good. I did add some extra flour like I said I was going to, so that seems like a pretty good consistency there. And then I'm gonna start making waffles, and it's gonna take a while to get through all of them because I have to make, you know, this is gonna make a big old batch. Also, this fruit syrup that I showed you guys earlier, can you see that? Yeah. It also makes a big batch. We usually have leftovers of that, and do you know what? If we have leftovers, I'm sure we will tonight, I love that leftover syrup over Greek yogurt or with cottage cheese. That's cottage cheese and Greek yogurt are two of those things that I have been eating a lot of lately. They're like my go-to snack because they're good for you and they really give you a lot of protein. And speaking of that, I actually lately when I've served pancakes or waffles, I've also served either Greek yogurt or cottage cheese with them. I think tonight we'll do yogurt. It's absolutely not, if the kids don't want to have it, that's fine. But for myself, I'm just going to put a little scoop of yogurt on each of my pancakes, or each of my waffles, I should say. And that just gives you a little bit more protein, which will keep me full for longer. I forgot to get my little metal bowl here. I always grab one of these metal bowls and then I can just let that sit in there. I'm also going to turn my oven on. So I turn my oven on to like 225, just slightly warm. And then when the waffles come out of the oven, they go onto a plate and into the oven so that the whole batch can stay warm at the same time. I'm filling up a soapy sink over here because this meal requires quite a few dishes. So I'm going to kind of wash these prep dishes as we go.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the day you blessed with. Thank you for the beautiful sunshine we're about to see today. Thank you for a nice house to live in, good food to eat. Thank you for our family. Give us a good night's rest. Keep us all healthy. Say good day tomorrow.
Dad, I said that for the whole time.
Perfect.
It's pretty hard, but
Elijah, how many do you want?
2.
one.
Last or two?
Yeah.
I can have all.
There you go.
Thank you.
And there's what we've got left over for either the fridge or the freezer. I honestly thought we'd have more left over than this, but we ate well tonight.